Today we're going to be writing an absolute value equations or inequalities. And so we have up to this point just been solving them. One of the formats we'll look at is, and the main one we'll stick with, is the variable minus the midpoint and so we have x minus the midpoint is equal to the distance, and we're going to take the absolute value about it. The midpoint is just the average of the two endpoints. So you add them together, divided by 2, and the distance is finding the end to the middle. So first off, let's take a look at it. Find the absolute value of the equation if the two endpoints are at 15 and negative 15. So let's go ahead and just, so you can see it as a line. Oops, wrong color. So what that's saying is I have 15 down here, and I have negative 4 down here. And so the number is going to fall somewhere on this line. And we're writing an equation to see all the different possibilities that we could have that number. And so the easiest way is to find that midpoint. And so we'll find our midpoint. So our midpoint, we're going to take and add those two numbers, so negative 4 plus 15. And we're going to divide it by 2. Negative 4 plus 15 is going to give me a positive 11 divided by 2, which another way of writing that is 5.5 or 5.5. So kind of read how the problem's asking. Are you want it in decimal or how they're wanting the answer? Next thing I want to do is I want to find the distance. And the distance is looking how far from that midpoint to the end. And so I'm going to do this with fraction just so that y'all can see how it would look with fraction. And so if I did this as 11 halves. And so I'm going to take one of the ends, and I'm going to do the easiest end. 15 minus 11 halves is equal to my distance. 15, I need to get to where it has a common denominator, so over 2, that's 30 over 2. Minus 11 halves, which is 19 over 2. And so now we're going to write our equation. And so our equation is x minus my midpoint is equal to my distance. And so that's my final answer. So we're going to do the same thing, but in this time we're actually going to be dealing with a story, and it's asking us to write an absolute value inequality. So the car must meet the dimensions of the race. To use a to implement, we must ensure that this is specifications. And so we need it to be at least. So on this previous one, it would actually have to be those 2 points. It would be those 2 points. There's not any wiggle room for being in the center. Over here, this is where it's really more used. It's rarely used as the equation format. It's more used in the inequality, but the equation is just kind of where we start. So we're going to first, just like we did last time, we're going to start off the same way. Find our midpoint. And to find our midpoint, we have our, and it's actually given to us in this case, because we know the middle point. So our 53 is our highest and the 51 is our smallest, but our midpoint is just at 52. So we already have that. Next thing we need to find is we need to find the distance. And so what's the distance between these two? 1 inch. So now let's go ahead and write our absolute value inequality. And so I'm just going to leave off the symbol for right now. So x minus my midpoint and is equal to is something to my distance. Am I needing to be where it needs to be less than that? More than that? And so it says the largest allowable height is that 1 inch away. So that means I need to be less. And is that height allowed? And the answer is yes. So that's my inequality. And so that is within the indicated tolerance.